My name is Ashley Rapanis, and for my EDU 643 Instructional Design final project presentation, I will be showing you my website that I created based on argumentative writing. So my name, as I said, is Ashley Rapanis, and I teach at Coleman High School in Coleman, Michigan. This is my second year teaching. I currently teach 9th, 10th, and 11th grade English. And in addition to teaching, I am the Model UN advisor and the reading interventionist at our school. And that's where I meet with students a couple times a week after school, and we work on some of the reading skills if they're behind their normal grade level. One of my major teaching goals is to learn effective ways to increase student engagement with technology in my classroom. So, argumentative writing using Weebly. So for my final project, I created a website on Weebly. It was free and easy to use, and throughout this website, students are able to master the skills necessary to write an argumentative essay correctly using all of the parts. So my needs analysis became clear during the first week of school. Students are asked to write an argumentative essay on who would make the best president. Only about 50% of the students included a counterclaim in this essay. And from what I've heard from other teachers in previous years, they had about 75% of students including counterclaims. So this is obviously an issue that needs to be addressed. In addition to students not including counterclaims in their argumentative essay, a lot of students also did not have clear and strong claims. So I knew that that was something else that would need to be worked on. The objectives of my lesson are to identify and create clear and valid claims, identify properly formatted counterclaims, create valid counterclaims that include opposing viewpoints, and then compose an argumentative essay with all the necessary parts. The goal statement would be to strengthen the student's mastery of an argumentative paper by including a clear thesis and counterclaim. So 85% of students will be able to properly include a counterclaim and a clear thesis in an argumentative essay. Development. So my biggest obstacle for this project was to find a good subject to use. So I began trying to create a lesson centered around background information for the play Raisin in the Sun, but I soon realized that that was going to be too much like a web quest and not in-depth enough for this assignment. So that's when I remembered a big problem with our students is argumentative writing, and that could be a really useful website. At first I was afraid to use this because I thought it might be too intense, but I'm glad that I used it because it worked out really well. One objective I had to add in after doing some work was the fact that students need to be able to identify strong and weak claims. Before they can write strong and weak claims, they have to be able to know the difference between them and identify them. One tool that I had some trouble with was Quizlet. I couldn't always get the questions to be in the format I needed. I used Quizlet a couple times before in my class, but then I realized I like Google Forms a lot better, so I used Google Forms in my website. One thing I had to add in that I didn't think of at the time was before having students write strong versus weak claims, I needed to make sure that they could identify them. So I talked about this earlier, so that is one thing that once I created the website, I had to go back and add in a section for this. I was easily able to fix this. I just had to insert a section on one of my pages in my website. So demonstration of assessment. So quickly, we're going to take the PowerPoint off the screen, and I'm going to show you my website. So here is my website, EDU 643 Argumentative Writing. Throughout this website, you will learn the skills necessary to compose an argumentative essay. Follow the directions on each page to complete the assessments on each page to ensure your understanding of an argumentative essay. To navigate this site, please click on the bars in the upper right-hand corner to travel to different pages. So then if you scroll down on this page, you see the objectives and the standards. If you click on the instructions on this page, it shows you the process. So throughout this website, you'll go to 4 different pages. At each page, there will be some instructions, a video to watch, and some example text. Once you have reviewed the video, the example text, you'll be asked to do something to prove that you understand the objective of that page. By the last page, you should understand all parts of an argumentative essay and be able to compose an argumentative essay of your own. And then it lists the 4 pages there. It also has a clarification point explaining that they can email me at my email address anytime they have questions while navigating through this website. So the first page is claims and counterclaims. There's a definition of a claim, a definition of a counterclaim, an image explaining claim. Then there's also a video below, and that video kind of introduces the idea of how to structure a counterclaim and what a counterclaim actually is. Below, there are examples of a counterclaim and a claim based on Romeo and Juliet. We've read Romeo and Juliet, so this prompt should be pretty easy for them to respond to. So they're given an example of a claim. They're also given an example of a counterclaim. And then before moving on to the next stage, there are 4 questions here. And that for the answer to each question is either claim or counterclaim. So they have to identify the definitions, identify the example, and then there's one true and false that they have to say, is this a claim, true or false? Then we move on to the strong versus weak claim and counterclaim page. There's a video that explains, it's a really good example of what makes a good claim and what's not a good claim, and it explains how a strong claim has to be arguable and supportive with evidence and specific, and anything that's not that is pretty much a weak claim. So we have examples of weak claims here, and then we have examples of strong claims below that. There's a couple practice problems where they look at something and decide if it's a strong claim or a weak claim. Then at the bottom is a formative assessment where it states below you're going to prove that you know how to write a strong claim. We have all read To Kill a Mockingbird, so you all should know how to write a strong claim based on the provided information. Good luck. So they need to type their first and last name so that I'm able to know whose work is whose. And then in our book To Kill a Mockingbird, did Atticus Finch do the right or wrong thing by defending Tom Robinson? Write a strong claim for this essay question that could be used as a thesis of your essay. So they have to write a strong claim for that question. The next page is creating counterclaims. There's a video that gives them really detailed information on how to create a counterclaim, what parts are needed. Here's a list of some ways that they can start acknowledging counterclaims. And then they're going to write their first and last name for this formative assessment and answer a couple questions. Based on the following claim, write a counterclaim. And so they're giving a claim and they have to prove that they can write a detailed counterclaim with all the right parts and details that it needs to be a strong counterclaim. And then we finally get to one of the last pages, which is the assessment. So by now the students have identified claims, counterclaims, strong claims versus weak claims and weak counterclaims, and then were given specific directions on how to create a strong argument or a strong counterclaim. So now is the assessment. So this is more of a summative assessment. It's time for them to actually write an argumentative essay. So there's a list of reminders, there's a list of the assignment, and then I've also inserted a Word document with the specific details for the assignment, an outline sheet, etc. They're given right here in the assignment sheet, and it shows exactly where their points are coming from. And they have 3 days in class to do this, which is also explained in the directions. So by the end of this assessment, I'll be able to tell if the student has mastered the content of how to write an argumentative essay or not. And when they finish typing these essays, they're emailing them to me. So that's how they're going to submit the essays. They're going to type them on Word and then email them to me. And then this final page has resources for my images, which came from these sites, and then my videos, which came from YouTube on those sites. So that is my website. We'll move back to the PowerPoint. Okay, so that was my demonstration of my website, which you can, if you want to look at further, you can find it right here at http://rapanosargument.weebly.com. So I think I would implement this in my 9th grade English class. I'd use it at the beginning of the year so that they're able to master these skills for the entire year. We need about 7 or 8 days in the computer lab. It would depend on the class and how advanced the students are. Some classes might be able to finish it quicker than others. It's important to make sure that technology is working well for this, and then make sure that all students are comfortable with technology. At the end of a lesson, I would have students evaluate it and let me know what they liked about it or what they didn't like, or some ideas of what I should change in the future. And then with it being all online, it'd be really easy for students that are absent to catch up and be where we are with the project. Evaluation. So the first person to evaluate my project was Carrie Martin, who's a 7th and 8th grade English teacher at Forest Hills Northern in Grand Rapids. She said, "I think this website is phenomenal. I love that it gives the information students need to learn about the elements of an argumentative essay along with activities to practice their new knowledge. The teacher can do formative assessments along the way to check for understanding. Also, the final assessment at the end allows the teacher to know if students have mastered the concepts. The interactive nature will appeal to high school students and keep them engaged in the assignment. It also allows students the flexibility to move at their own pace, which will help them in the learning process. The images make the website visually appealing, and the links make it easy to maneuver through the site. I teach 8th grade ELA, and I'm planning on using Ms. Rapanos' site when I teach argumentative essays in the future." The second person that I had was from this class, Lindsay Grillo, and she reviewed my website, and she stated that she's not very familiar with argumentative essays, therefore my Weebly website was very informative. One area that she thinks I could try to add would be possibly add a video of myself modeling how to construct a counterclaim paragraph. This would be beneficial for your struggling learners and another way to differentiate your instruction to meet all learners' needs, which I thought was a really good idea. So in reflecting, I learned a lot from creating this website. My learning map seemed to be pretty spot on from the start, so I didn't have much to change there. I learned that all objectives have to be included for students to be accessible. So you have to include all the objectives in your website to reach the end goal. And I've also agreed with Lindsay and decided that her suggestion to include a video of myself modeling how to write a counterclaim would be really useful for some students. So in the future, sometime, I will adjust this website and create a video of myself modeling how to create a counterclaim paragraph and include that in my website. And that is it. So thank you for listening today.